I don't know. It's a weird word. Pomade. It's one word or two words?
It's one word.
One word.
Pomade.
Oh, there's not an L. It's not like palm.
No. Pomade.
Oh, pomade. Oh, no.
It's like
no, I like that less. If I'm being honest.
It's like the whole. Like I said, I've been watching New Girl.
Yeah.
It's like the Prince episode when Schmidt, Coach, Winston, and Nick are trying to figure out the correct saying of panties.
Oof, you shouldn't be saying that word anyway. Just say undies.
But
underwear.
But anyway,
so
like I said, I think I'm going to keep all that in.
Okay.
I'll give you the finished product before it's posted.
Appreciate.
But
all right.
Well, here we are. Season 5. For you all seeing us on YouTube for the first time, for you this will be like season 1.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it feels like season 1 because of the new setup, new mics. It's kind of a new way of doing this.
Yes.
I'm not too used to it, but you know what? It's gonna be fine. We're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna be fine.
Yes, and to our listener, we appreciate sticking with us for 5 seasons.
5 seasons, and this is a very special episode, bringing us all the way back to episode 1.
Ah, damn! I was really hoping I was gonna get to be the first one to say that.
Wrong. The entire reason we even did that episode was in anticipation of the movie we're talking about today.
That's right. Almost a year in the making.
Yeah.
Because the episode came out a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah, no. Season 1. But before we get into everything, and you know what? I just realized. First episode on YouTube, and I haven't even done a proper intro.
You did not.
Well, welcome back to Reservations, everyone. We are your hosts. I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm Jeremy Blair.
We may have our names at the bottom of the screen. I haven't decided yet.
Host.
So like Jeremy said, this is all new for us. For those of you watching us on YouTube and maybe finding us, that would be great if we were found on YouTube after this first episode.
That'd be really neat, and people started listening to some backlog stuff.
Yeah, but this is new for us, so you may see some things changing with how we do things, because this is new for us too.
Right. I mean, who knows?
That's why we took 2.5 weeks off.
Yeah, I mean, it might not look like this every time. We may figure something out that's better for us, more comfortable. So this is just really a trial run.
Yeah. But we didn't want you guys to lose interest in us, to forget old Rain and Jeremy.
That's right. There's no way I'd be able to handle that kind of rejection.
Just can't take that kind of rejection.
I can't.
I just recently watched that the other day. I'm not going to say where, because just on the off chance someone important is watching this or listening.
I see.
I'll tell you off camera and off mic. See, I can say off camera now.
Off camera. Look at that.
Oh, and to those listening, you're not going to get that, because if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, you should. But anyway, I was watching Back to the Future, and I was annoying someone with all the trivia that I have of that movie.
Yeah.
And then I was quoting it. So especially
I've seen you watch television. I know that. Yeah.
Well, anyway, so Jeremy, shall we try to do this?
Let's do it.
So obviously, as y'all can tell, we are discussing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's my hand model.
That's really good. Vanna White would be very impressed by your hand motions there. Yes, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Dude. I know we talked about it in our very first episode when we talked about Quentin Tarantino and how excited we were for this movie, because I think when we recorded that, there was no trailer. There was just the synopsis, the image they released of Brad and Leo, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't believe we got a trailer at that time either. It was pretty far in in the future, relatively to when we were doing that episode, we were just so excited for it that we're like, we gotta,
at least mention it,
lay some groundwork.
Yeah.
And it turns out we were right. I distinctly remember talking about revisionist history and, with Inglourious Basterds and Django Unchained, that he might do the same thing with this one because it had to do with the Manson murders, the Tate murders, right? And how interesting, that could be to see what he would do with that. And it turns out we were absolutely right. And we're going to get to that.
Yeah. I saw this movie twice in theaters. I saw it with Ashley opening day because I was like, we're going opening day. No ifs, ands, or buts. And she was like, okay. And then I saw it with my dad, which was still great the second time watch through. But my dad kept leaning over to be like yeah, that was it. Or just giving me little facts. And I'm like, Dad, I love you.
Well, and this movie...
Watch the movie.
This movie's full of that, especially for people of our dad's ages. And, because growing up watching these things, especially in syndication, these people are real people, right? Yeah. Rick Dalton, Cliff Booth, those people aren't real. Right. Everyone else they interact with is a real person. Yeah. Relatively, right?
Or at least like an amalgam of a real person that was probably around.
Because you can look up who Timothy Olyphant plays.
Jim Stacy.
It's a real person.
Yeah.
Right.
On a real show.
Right. And, little things like that, right? You can go in and really dive into all of the little things you might not have caught the first time or didn't think was relevant that these fictitious people are interacting with these very real people who were in the business at the time.
I kind of hearken it to Forrest Gump, Do you not like Forrest Gump?
No.
Have we discussed this?
No, I don't think so. But no, I'm not a huge fan of Forrest Gump.
Oh my fucking God. Oh yeah, I'm going to have to pull back on my swear words now that we're on YouTube now.
I don't think so. I think we're fine.
Oh, that's right. It's not going to be monetized. Yet.
But...
I can't believe you don't like Forrest Gump.
No, it's not like I don't like... It's just like it's not as good of a movie as people say it is.
What?
That's how I feel. Listen, we got to get back to this movie.
Oh my God. Yes.
We got to get back to this.
Oh my God.
So, let's talk about the film as a whole. So, it is a Quentin Tarantino's love letter to old Hollywood, to Los Angeles as a whole.
Yep.
Down to the, I wrote it down,
everyone, you get to see Jeremy's notes
you get to see
this time.
my notes this time. KHJ.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, real radio station at the time, AM radio. And he just distinctly remembers living in Los Angeles as a child and hearing these things, sort of like when we discussed music in Scorsese films. Scorsese places these things from his memory into these films.
Yeah.
Right? To give it 3 dimensions.
Oh, yeah. And, right? And what's kind of funny is... this is a love letter from Quentin to old Hollywood because this was going around in the movie primarily happens in the transition from old Hollywood to new Hollywood.
Right.
Kind of a throwback to our Martin Scorsese season 4 series. Martin was a part of that new wave of new Hollywood, new directors, being very pessimistic, not optimist anymore, of the 50s and 60s. And it's because of, what's considered the death of the 60s, which is the Tate murders. Tate murders are considered to kill the 60s and bring us into more of a what's the word? Because I already used pessimistic. Just essentially, a 70s of lock your doors, shut the blinds, all that,
Right, being sort of being more aware of bad things to come, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily, we're taking off the rose-colored glasses, right?
Right.
Moving into the 70s, and you're absolutely right. And this is where we get films in the early 70s that really highlight these things. For instance, Taxi Driver in '74 really paints a picture of New York in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
This new New York, and he talks about it all the time in the film, that it's so downtrodden and it needs to be this bad and blah blah, all that stuff.
But
You're
anyway,
absolutely right.
but yes, so Quentin is showing us how great it was before the transition into New Hollywood.
And for me, it's the attention to detail, where, especially with Hollywood Boulevard, how they completely transformed it back to where it was, right?
I read that a lot of those vendors didn't really give them trouble, but it was real like, we can't change it. And apparently the production was like, we understand that, but we have to make it look like the time. And so they got him to do it. And then when they were done in that area, a lot of those vendors were like, well, can you just leave it up? We like it.
Yeah. Because it looks really cool. And thank God a lot of those shops now that used to be movie theaters kept the marquee.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to like build a new marquee. All they needed to do was spruce it up, put some new neon in there, and they're good to go. Right. Because it's keeping this tradition of old Hollywood by keeping things like that. And speaking of attention to detail, I mean, even the really small things. So when they were shooting the FBI episode with Rick Dalton, right?
Yeah.
That truck, the cargo truck, is the same cargo truck that was in that episode of FBI. The guys,
because they did have to reshoot a little bit.
The guys that he had put in charge of outfitting the entire film with the vehicles, right? Found the actual truck from FBI, and they're like, "Hey, man, we found the real thing." And Quentin's like, "What are you talking about? That's amazing. Yes, we want it. Please."
That's awesome. Yeah, because I know there was a lot that Quentin had to reshoot to make it fit in this faux history world. The one thing I really liked that he didn't reshoot at all was Wrecking Crew.
Wrecking Crew, right. Using the actual film with Sharon Tate there was a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would have liked it any less if they, superimposed Margot Robbie in it. But, I mean, I think it really honored Sharon Tate.
Right, I agree.
But yeah, I love... again with more of the faux history of that Rick was involved with the pilot of Lancer, which obviously Rick Dalton is not real.
Right. One of my favorite little things in the film that is so quick, and if you've never seen the movie, you wouldn't get its significance. When Sharon Tate goes into that bookstore to pick up the book she ordered for Roman,
I read about this.
She pets the little falcon on the desk.
Yeah.
It's the actual Maltese falcon,
which
DiCaprio. Oh, it's his. Leonardo DiCaprio owns the Maltese falcon, which is so cool. Those of you who have never heard of the Maltese Falcon, it's a film noir from 1941.
Which I think we talked about in our noir episode.
Probably. I would have almost insisted because Peter Lorre's in that one too, and I really like Peter Lorre. But it's Humphrey Bogart, and it's it's a film noir mystery, and it's said to be one of the best. And it's just they just put the Maltese Falcon in. It's so cool. To me, I was geeking out. It was super fun.
See, I never caught that. And then when I was in preparation for the episode and I was reading some more trivia, and it was like, the Maltese Falcon owned by Leonardo DiCaprio. And I was like,
I can't believe he owns the Maltese
what?
Falcon. I didn't know you could own the Maltese Falcon. That's super neat. The thing that besides the, attention to detail, and it kind of goes in with the attention to detail, is Tarantino doesn't just tell a story, a period piece. He's immersing you in this world, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people that I heard complaints from, this was their complaint, that there were elongated periods of time where nothing really was happening, right? A lot of the driving sequences, right, which I loved. I mean, again, this is the movie to me. The movie is putting your audience in 1969 Los Angeles, and he does that perfectly and seamlessly.
Oh yeah.
And to do that, sometimes you just have to sit in the world that he has recreated for us. And you've made this point several times with films, especially in season 4. I can't remember which ones exactly, but I might be able to.
But me personally, I enjoyed that. I feel like, it's real driving. It's not like, okay, we see him take off, oh, and now he's there. Okay.
It's not like in Goodfellas where you don't even see him get in the car, right?
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. It's not real time because that would be impossible, but
yeah.
You feel it. You feel like, wow, we've been in the car a while.
The movie would be like 4 hours long if it was real time.
Right. And so I really enjoyed being in the world and getting to sit in it for a while, especially in the driving sequences. And of course, getting to see the white Cadillac again. The white Cadillac is Michael Madsen's. He owns the white Cadillac, but it was the white Cadillac in Reservoir Dogs. It's the same car.
Right.
Yeah. So Michael Madsen, who is in the movie also, he is in the episode of Bounty Law.
Ashley, when I was rewatching it the other night, she was like, and there he is, the man himself, Quentin Tarantino, and I was like, that's Michael Madsen. I was like, that's Vic Baker. That's Bill's brother, and she's like, oh my god, it is. But I'll give her credit that his profile does look a lot like Quentin's profile.
Sure.
But then once we had that close up, that's Michael Madsen.
Right, and it was just cool to see number one Michael Madsen in another Tarantino movie, right?
Because we hadn't seen him since The Hateful Eight, right?
Right. And of course the white Cadillac, that it's Rick Dalton's car that Cliff Booth drives him around. The explanation is amazing, right? I love that Kurt Russell
the narration.
Gets to be a character, right? But is also the narrator.
It is the voice of the film.
Right, which is so much fun. Right?
Yeah, I heard a lot of complaints from people that they didn't like that.
That's interesting.
That they were like, if he would have established early on that there was going to be a narrator, But my thing is, look at Inglourious Bastards.
I was just about to say, because
Sam Jackson's narration comes in out of nowhere.
Right.
To explain nitrate films, and then that's it. Like, no explanation.
Yeah, and then you sort of get that, choose your character video game thing when we're starting to meet the bastards one by one, right? And that's sort of a break from the narration or the narrative as well, right? Especially Hugo Stiglitz or whatever. We get that background on who he is, right? And that's kind of what I felt like this was, right?
Yeah.
It was when Rick Dalton says, "Oh, my
car's in the shop."
He goes, "That's a fucking lie."
That's a fucking lie.
And I love that interjection, where it's like, "Oh, okay, now we're gonna get to understand why Cliff is driving around all the time."
Oh, and I like that Quentin even uses tire screeching.
Yeah.
That's a fucking lie. And then we actually see that he got in a wreck. So
right, exactly.
And that's something that I noticed with this. I'll probably say fifth time through, because I love this movie. Is Quentin uses the world to build suspense, because there is no score. There is no.
Oh, but the music is unbelievable. I am a very proud owner of this soundtrack on vinyl. I have even the commercials, or it's like you're listening to the radio. It's on the vinyl, and so you get to. It's immersing yourself back into this world without having to, watch the movie.
Yeah, when I got the collector's edition of this, it came with the 7-inch.
Yeah.
Not 7-inch. No, well, the really small.
The 45 era.
The 45 and the filler.
Yeah.
So I could play it on my record player without it.
Right.
Spinning around. But yeah, so I really noticed it, and we'll really get there, but I noticed it when Cliff goes to visit George, Quentin's using the TV music to give us this tension. No orchestra, no anything. And I think that's what it really feels real.
This is a great transition to Quentin using our knowledge of who these people are against us, right?
Yeah.
So when Cliff goes to the ranch.
Spawn Ranch. Which, did they film at Spawn Ranch? Because all the pictures I've seen, it looks like they really filmed at Spawn.
I think they did, and they obviously a lot of that stuff's not there anymore, so they have to go back and
recreate.
Right, buildings, things like that. But yes, I believe they did.
Yeah, because everything looks like it's exactly where it was in the pictures that I've seen of like documentaries and stuff like that. So I was telling Ashley.
I mean, it's attention to detail to the max. I mean, we'll get to the finale, but that car, they had the option to use the real car that Tex and
really,
yeah, and
holy shit,
the guys were like, I think it'd be a little too creepy for the actors to sit in the car that these murderers killed those people. Let's just take pictures and we'll recreate. I mean, every rust stain, every dent, everything is exactly the same. It's just they didn't want to use the real car, but they had the opportunity to do so.
I mean, but I don't blame them.
I don't either, but
I
mean, how cool it would have been to be in that car,
like,
right?
Maybe just see the car, like, oh wow.
And they did. They took a whole bunch of pictures and things like that.
But anyway, so using our knowledge against us.
Right, using the fact that we know who these people are, to the point where it's almost, those who are aficionados or are big fans of the
like true crime and
the Helter Skelter films or whatever.
Which, can I just say, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Thanks, Charles Manson, for ruining a fantastic Beatles song. Even the Beatles, well, the two alive Beatles right now have said on record that they have disavowed that song because of them.
I would argue 1.5. I mean, Ringo's barely. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
But still, like that's such. It's. Hang on, everyone. Like, it's such a good song. Like, and it's so different, especially for the Beatles. And then they had to fucking ruin it.
Well, I think it's a testament to the song and how good it is because Manson, again, was in his own right a musician also, and he had an affection for music. Mm-hmm. And so you can argue it's sort of a form of flattery, but let's not get into too much of this. I just like to play devil's advocate, and hey man, give him a break, just kidding. So,
anyways,
so again, the real aficionados will know who Dakota Fanning is immediately without them saying it's Squeaky, right?
Mm-hmm. And we don't hear that name until really Cliff is talking to George,
right?
And he's like, the girl, I'm the girl outside, Squeaky. Yeah.
The redhead is like, how the fuck am I supposed to?
I'm blind.
It's almost like that Anchorman 2 thing, but it's amazing the way that Tarantino builds tension by just using our knowledge of historical events, right? When he goes to Spawn Ranch, we are terrified because we know who these people are.
I will say that is probably the most anxious I'd ever been in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially on his way up to George's house, right? Mm-hmm. It's a little jarring because, again, it's this idea that these people have killed George, right?
Oh yeah, I was convinced. I was like, he's gonna go to that back room, George is gonna be dead.
Yeah. But again, this is Tarantino playing with our expectations again.
And I think the real history was they kind of left George alone.
Yeah.
in exchange for sex.
See, I'm not as much of an aficionado on the Manson stuff.
Neither am I.
As I am on other like serial killers and things like that.
I've just seen things. I think Manson promised him like they'll keep the ranch maintained to a level in exchange for like free lodging, pretty much. And I think that they some of the girls even like had sex with George.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an old man.
I mean, why not, you know?
Yeah, and he was partially blind.
And again, Bruce Dern, amazing.
You know,
right? I love Bruce Dern. So I'd forgotten he was in the movie.
Well, and I told Ashley, and this kind of blew her mind. Burt Reynolds was originally supposed to be that role.
That's interesting. And
then he passed away. R.I.P. to my birthday buddy.
R.I.P.
But I mean, Bruce Dern is phenomenal.
Right.
Even in this brief 5-minute sequence, he's amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, it's the interweaving narratives of the Manson family, Sharon Tate, Roman Polanski, and then Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth. These, they'll intertwine and then they'll go away again.
Yeah.
They'll intertwine, then they'll go away again. Right? Until the very end where they all combine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's sort of tension building as well, because again, we're desperately trying to figure out how in the hell Rick Dalton fits in with any of this, right?
Yeah.
Because we know how everything ends. We know what happens. So how does Rick fit into all of that, right? And it's so fascinating the way that it did. I remember seeing the image of DiCaprio and Pitt, right? Like standing and leaning on the car, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're going to be like detectives on the like trying to figure out what's going on with it. That's what I thought, right? And pleasantly surprised. This is a much better movie, but than that would have been.
Well, see, and I kind of knew that it was about an actor, but my expectation was the Manson family was going to be more involved,
and I think that's sort of the point. Is they're not. And, that's, sort of the point, right?
Yeah.
That's Tarantino is trying to, tell you that, these, not giving them as much credit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You don't want to glorify these people.
And I think this is the least amount of glorifying you can do with these.
Especially with the end of the movie. Yeah. And that's another crazy thing about this movie is the history and the horrible thing that happened is, I remember reading an article that Roman Polanski's current wife was trying to boycott the movie because she felt like it wasn't like right or some shit. I don't remember what the fuck she was trying to do or say. All I remember thinking was, well, your husband's a monster, so you don't get a say. And plus, Roman's in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, he's not in it for very long. But again, the portrayals of everyone is excellent. I mean, we're talking. Let's go ahead and just talk about the Playboy Mansion.
Oh,
and how much fun it is to see these actors play these icons, right?
Apparently, Hugh Hefner was supposed to be. Obviously not. He's passed away now, but he was supposed to be in that sequence. But I think they cut that out. But anyway,
Damian Lewis is Steve McQueen. The woman who plays Mama Cass is amazing. Also, I mean, as soon as you see her, you're like, that's Mama Cass, right?
I told Ashley when we were watching Rocket Man, and the owner of the Troubadour is like, enough of this bullshit. Who wants to go to a party at Mama Cass's?
Right.
I told Ashley, I was like, we see Mama Cass and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She was like, we do? And so I showed her that, and she's like, oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this is to where you don't need their names to be anywhere. Right.
The only three names we get are when they arrive at the Playboy Mansion is Steve McQueen, Jay Sebring, and I don't remember the woman's name.
Dreama Walker plays her. I don't remember either.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. But then after that, I agree, because then as soon as we see Mama Cass, we know
it's Mama Cass, right? And again, it's immersing yourself in this world, in this very rose-colored glasses. This is New Hollywood, essentially.
Yeah, because Roman was part of the New Hollywood
and just
wave.
This fantasy world that these people are living in, and of course, the music is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Oh yeah,
my dad is a huge fan of that. I am a big fan of theirs as well, and
apparently Sharon Tate was as well.
Apparently, Paul Revere and the Raiders are excellent, and they fit in so well with this film. Sprinkled throughout.
Yeah.
I loved it's almost validation, right, for our spaghetti western series with the Man with No Name trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the Italian film industry.
Well, see, and now that we've done that, all the shit that they were saying, of course, Quentin's not gonna talk about Italian filmmaking without saying the stuff that they really did. Like, right. He's not going to throw in shit.
No, he's not. He's not really being mean either. It's this character, Rick Dalton, is having trouble with everyone speaking their own language and everyone's just dubbed over. Right?
Yeah,
that would drive me crazy.
I told Ashley that, and she was like, "Are you kidding?" I was like, "No." Like,
absolutely.
That's how they made westerns back then, and then
that's how they still make movies.
Yeah, and I told her about when we did the Man with No Name trilogy. I was like, the only plus is when Clint Eastwood made those movies, he got to do his own dub over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, but everyone else, they were dubbed over.
Everybody else, right? And so it was sort of fun to see Quentin's version of that. Right.
You fucking Italian movies.
And I loved not only did he do westerns, but he did, the spy movie. Yeah. It was kind of like James Bond meets the Italian Job, it looked like,
Yeah.
Great sequence, right, of just the very quick overview of what it was like for them in Italy. I really liked the shot of the car jumping that
and then
bridge.
It pauses. Cliff. And then it lands. Yeah.
Letting us know that Cliff is still very much involved in all of this, which we love, because to me, Cliff is the hero of the entire movie.
Yeah. That video that I was watching when you came over pretty much explains how Cliff, the stuntman, stuntmen in general are as close to superheroes as we would ever get. That's why, how the video I was watching explains it. That's why when he punches someone, they literally fly off their feet. And then, Rick is just the guy who kind of comes in and gets the money shot and gets all the credit. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of personified in the finale of the movie,
and
in a way.
And, Tarantino has a love and respect for stunts and stunt people. Mm-hmm. For evidence, the Australian woman who plays Kurt Russell's wife is a stunt woman. She was the stunt woman for Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
And she was also in Death Proof.
And so was Kurt Russell.
So was Kurt Russell, that's right. This is just a fun little story about her and being a stunt woman that... during the shoot of Death Proof, he would have to remind her to look up, like, face this way. And she goes, well, because I don't have to hide my face, because they're so used to having their face away from the camera, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes, no, you need to face this way. It's fine if we see your face this time. And she goes, that's right. I'm sorry. And so that's sort of, it's... filling the movie also with people in the industry is also very fun, right?
Yeah. So I really want to talk about Rick Dalton.
Okay.
I think people need to understand who this guy is.
And what I love about this movie so much is that obviously we are building up to the final 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, which is...
But before that, Quentin Tarantino is giving us a full picture of who these people are, right? Giving us an idea of who they are. Again, putting us in this world and maintaining this sort of immersion in this world, right?
Right.
But also giving us a full idea of who these people are, making them fully three-dimensional, no matter who they are, right? And he does this perfectly with our main characters. And so let's talk about Rick.
Yeah, so Rick... You love Rick, but at the same time, I feel like he's the type of guy it's hard to love. Because especially when we see him in 1969. Because in his heyday, when he was doing Bounty Law, he's Ace King, 1950s TV, but then kind of falls off and kind of... I almost get the impression he's resistant to adapting. Yes,
he is. He's stuck in old Hollywood, and he doesn't. He's fighting the change to the new Hollywood, right? We see the sort of throwing up of the hands and saying, "Okay, fine, I give up." When he comes back from Italy. Right, he's wearing the ascot. He's got the long hair. He's
the mutton chops.
Right, he's wearing bell bottoms, and he goes, "All right, fine."
Yeah, which I find I told Ashley I find funny, especially when he's like, "Goddamn fucking hippies!"
One of my favorite lines.
And it's like, bro.
But dude, look how you're dressed.
Look at you. You're a hippie now.
He's again, very. Yeah.
And I think that's really evidence when he does the Lancer pilot. And Sam, the director, is like, I want to put a mustache on him. I want to put a long wig on him. And I want to put him in a fringe jacket. And you can tell Rick is very...
Right, this isn't
like
Bounty Law. This isn't like Bonanza. This isn't Gunsmoke. This is different. This is hip, right? Mm-hmm. And he wasn't prepared for something hip.
Yeah, and I love what he says to him, like, if you got me covered up in all this junk, how's anyone going to see me? And the director goes... I don't want them to see you. And I watched an interview with Quentin and Leo where they talk about how, it's this transition from, you kind of mentioned it with my hair, having a pompadour and, putting pomade in your hair and, looking really handsome, to this transition of, looking more like a beatnik and had long hair and shaggy, facial hair. And also in the terms of acting, this is almost when method acting was getting real, I wouldn't say predominant, because Marlon Brando's was method acting since like day one. Mm-hmm. But still, and we see that with his interaction with Marabella. Because I don't think we ever get her real name. Oh, it's Trudy, because we see the back of her chair. Mm-hmm. But she's very... They describe it in the interview, very Meryl Streep.
Yes. Yes, she
this
is...
This 9-year-old little girl.
Man. Yeah, she's...
It's the job of the actor. And I say actor, not actress, because actress is nonsensical.
Yeah, she's... and
I love that...
She's something else.
And I love that the whole time Rick's just like...
Not prepared for that. Yeah.
But I think that whole Lancer pilot sequence really opens Rick's eyes to, and Leo even says it, that Rick does have this almost untapped potential. He just has to almost grow up and dig it out.
Yeah. It's there's a few things that Rick does that makes me laugh out loud. It's so funny, and one of the things that I couldn't get over. It's so funny is when he is practicing his lines at the house, and he has all of the other ones recorded. And his Mexican accent, he goes, "Sí, señor." You know,
sounds like Speedy Gonzalez.
It's so funny, and I don't think he did it, you know, and you'd think that he didn't do it to be funny, right? He's not, this isn't a joke to him, obviously.
Yeah, he did it because he thinks that's what the actor's probably going to sound like.
And it is not what the actor is going to sound like. And the other thing is his breakdown in the trailer.
Oh, I tell my mom that's one of my favorite sequences of the whole movie because it's, apparently it was entirely improvised. Leo kind of came up with a lot of that. But I just love when he throws his hat in his trailer with such force it breaks the window it hits, which I didn't think you could break a window with a hat, but he breaks the window, and
I really love the, you know, I'm going to stop drinking. He goes, "Ah, fuck it," and he starts drinking. He goes, "No!"
And he throws it up
because he just can't help it. I love it. You know,
couldn't have 1 or 2. I had to have 8.
I'm gonna blow your fucking brains out.
I know, and see, and that shot especially really messes with me because we can see that he's looking into the mirror, but his reflection is always looking at the camera.
He's looking right at the camera. Yeah.
You listen here. You're gonna.
It's so funny. This whole movie's funny.
Yes.
Right? There is very, very little, drama,
which is crazy. Because everything I've read, it's classified as a drama.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 90% is all comedy, but then the last 35 minutes, that's where all the drama comes in.
Yeah, I would agree. Because and we'll talk about the shots here in a second, because I want to talk about Robert Richardson. He's the director of photography.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who pulled off some of those immaculate shots. One of them being Rick floating in the pool practicing his lines. We crane above him over his house to the Polanski's house, timed perfectly for them to walk out of their front door into the car and drive away. Right? One shot. The other one would be the Bruce Lee fight. And I always forget Bruce Lee
was in the Green Hornet.
And so they kept calling him Kato, and I just thought they were being racist.
And apparently Bruce supposedly actually really hated that role.
Yeah.
Like, really hated the whole thing. But, I mean, at the same time, you can't say that didn't give him his start in Hollywood. Right.
I had also heard that his family was very upset by the portrayal of him as kind of being this pompous show off, but I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, if he was that upset about being there, I mean, it would explain the attitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so, supposedly the China tried to ban the movie because of the portrayal of Bruce Lee, and Quentin, God love him, stuck to his guns. He was like, no, I'm not changing my movie.
Yeah.
He was like, this is integral to the story. I'm keeping it.
And again, it's a while before you realize the one shot. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, we haven't cut yet. Jesus Christ. And when he throws him into that car, I mean, I know my dad has said that is one of the hardest he's laughed in the movie, and at the theater, it's a huge roar of laughter when he gets thrown into the car.
I think that dent in the car says otherwise.
He goes, hey, no one's beating up Bruce Lee. He goes, well, that dent in the car. Exactly. Which is fantastic.
And I think that's a good transition into, so now we kind of understand Rick. Let's understand Cliff, his stunt double, who, I'm going to be honest, he puts up with a lot of shit from Rick.
He does, and, I really do think that not only is he just so thankful for the work that Rick has given him over the years, right? I think it really has truly become a bond between the two of them, right? So, I mean, it's not just that, he is technically an employee
of Rick's. Yeah.
That seems almost immaterial, right? And he doesn't let that bother him, right?
Yeah, like I was kind of asking you off camera and off mic is, Rick doesn't really share in the how great it is to be a movie star with Cliff.
And I think that might also have to do with he's not really living that life anymore, right?
Yeah.
You know, he is in that transition of almost has-been, right? Which he even calls himself a has-been.
Yeah. Fucking has been.
Don't cry in front of the Mexicans.
Okay, put these on.
Which is maybe the hardest I laughed in the movie. But, you know, I love... Cliff is my favorite character in the movie, right?
Yeah.
I think he's a lot of people's favorite character in the movie. I love his, you know, again, he doesn't let anything get him down, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't care that his best friend is his boss. He doesn't care that he drives him around all day. He actually likes it. He doesn't mind having to ask for work, right? Mm-hmm. He's just trying to get by, and he doesn't mind living in a trailer
Behind a drive-in.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, he's just living life. He doesn't give a shit. Probably because he murdered his wife.
Well, we don't know that, though.
He for sure murdered his wife. It was so funny. What a great flashback that was.
A flashback within a flashback.
Yeah.
Because you know, he's thinking about what Rick said. You know, the guy that gaffs this is best friends with Randy, so there's no point. So he flashes back to the Green Hornet, and then
in there's a flashback to him.
When Rick and Randy are arguing, and Randy's like, he killed his fucking wife. Flashback again. And then after all these flashbacks, Cliff is like, fair enough.
Which is so fun, right? And which is so Cliff. Again, not going to let it get him down. He goes, I get it, you know. And again, it's, you know, we get to see Brad Pitt with his shirt off again.
Yeah, dude.
And it is not a disappointment, my
man. Homie is in his 50s and he's still cut.
He's still cut, man. He's still got it going on, you know.
Yeah, bro.
When I was like, and again, we get this idea of who he is, that he is just so happy to be able to do what he does that he kind of parkours himself on the roof instead of getting a ladder, or whatever, which is fun. And I really like the sound design of that. Yeah, exactly. Like he's a superhero. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's the only thing that Brad Pitt probably didn't do in this movie.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he could have done it.
I don't know.
Once Tyler Durden, always Tyler Durden.
But yeah, man, and Cliff, you know, I agree. He doesn't let anything get him down, and I think the only other solid relationship that he has in his life, besides with Rick, is with Brandy, his pit bull, who is the cutest pit bull ever,
and the most well trained.
Yeah, was out of wine.
I love that.
I don't want to have to throw this shit away, but I will.
And it's the grossest looking dog food.
I know, and I love that Quentin staged it to where, you know, he's not coming down to the bowls level to drop it. He's dropping it from how I think Brad Pitt's like 6 feet tall. Yeah, so he's dropping it from 6 feet and it just bunk.
Yeah, and he does 2 of them and then drives it.
Yeah.
Which I love, right? And Brandy is so excited. And listen, you can pause it and look at all the flavors. They're hilarious.
Oh yeah, there's like raccoon flavor.
Yeah.
Rat flavor. Yeah. What's the dog food he feeds her? Like wolf's teeth.
Yeah, something like that.
Good dog. Good food for mean dogs or something. Something like that. And then Brandy herself is a character. Mm-hmm. You know, which we'll get to in a second. But, you know, Cliff, you know, he also doesn't care that he made his mac and cheese wrong, too. You know, he cooks the noodles and then just puts the powder in and then mixes it up, and then there we go.
Yep.
No milk, no butter.
Nah. Yeah, why bother? You know, Rick is Cliff. Cliff is so cool.
He is.
That, you know, his moccasins are cool. His Hawaiian shirt is dope.
Yeah.
You know, he's just a cool guy.
His aviators.
So he's so badass, you know? And the fact that, you know, like you said, he's in his 50s, and you would argue that what's her face from The Nice Guys, she's in this movie as well. She's
Pussycat.
Yeah.
I looked up her name and I completely forgot it.
Probably finds him just as attractive as anybody else because he's still Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure that whole sequence of I'm not going to jail for poontang is...
I didn't write it down this time, but I could have. and it just would have been one note, and it would have said feet.
Yeah, Quentin.
It's a Quentin Tarantino movie.
As we talked into season 1, episode 1. Quentin loves feet, bro.
Yeah, it's so gross.
I was really the whole movie, because we're halfway through the movie by the time he actually picks up Pussycat, because almost like fate, he'd seen her twice before he finally picks her up.
Right.
So the whole time I was like, are we, for the first time a Quentin Tarantino movie, are we gonna go without seeing bare feet? Hell yeah.
Mushed up against the windshield.
Which the camera was right there.
And then we get Sharon Tate at the movie theater watching Wrecking Crew.
And she puts her feet up.
Her gross, dirty feet up on the chair. So disgusting. And then we also get the shot of her feet when she's waking up in the morning after the Playboy Mansion party. Right?
Well, yeah, but it's moved up like her leg and stuff.
Still.
But all the Manson family members at Spawn Ranch are pretty much barefoot.
Gross.
Sidebar.
I knew you were going to bring this up. Go ahead.
Now that I've seen both The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor, Victoria Pedretti is
I didn't.
Lulu.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to bring up Harley Quinn Smith.
Obviously. My boy Kevin Smith, as he puts it in Jay and Silent Bob reboot, that he may not put his daughter into movies. She can make her own money. So yes, his daughter Harley Quinn Smith is one of the the Manson girls, who I don't think she even has a name.
No,
I think she's just there.
Then you also have what's her face from Girls?
Lena Dunham.
Lena Dunham, yes, she is in the movie as well.
I love her line.
Fits right in.
We love pussy, and Brad Pitt's just like, yeah.
Yes, we do. Again, Brad Pitt as Cliff, and probably in real life, is the coolest guy in the world, right?
Oh, dude, his interaction with Squeaky, bro.
Well, see, I was gonna go with his interaction with Tex. So,
you ever been to Houston?
I loved his last cop's jaw ever broke. I'll tell you that. It's the coolest reason.
Yeah,
he's just so cool. I can't get over how cool Cliff is. Right?
Yeah, especially during that whole sequence. He, Squeaky does not intimidate him at all. Even though, I'm going to be real, I think when he finally enters George's house, he's a little weary.
Yeah.
Especially seeing the rat caught in the sticky rat trap, and he's like...
yikes.
But then, he beats the shit out of Clem, tells him to fix the tire. Can you get a rag for my face first? Tire first.
Yeah, and again, it's just... Yeah, it upset him, but... Whatever, I'm not going to fix it. He is,
Yeah.
And he's got the bite to go with the bark. You know what I mean? Like he's, you saw him just beat the hell out of him, and then tell him to fix the tire, and he's not going to leave until he does it.
And he lights a cigarette, puts his glasses on,
a red apple cigarette,
dude. And I was convinced that he was not going to get out of there alive.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Or at least not get out of there without something happening. Especially when they go and get Tex. I'm like, oh, dude, he's fucked. I'm like, that guy's going to take his sweet-ass time changing the tire. And then Tex gets there, which is another one of my favorite shots. Another crane, one shot following Tex.
These shots that he was able to pull off in this movie are amazing.
Yeah.
And everyone needs to, go back... to other Tarantino films. This guy's worked with him before. Hateful Eight, Django Unchained. Go look at the shots again because they're amazing. This guy is amazing.
Yeah. But then Tex makes it and we see Cliff pulling away and I was like, oh, thank God.
So close.
I know.
And in fact, the opposite happens, but we'll get there. Not only does Brad Pitt live the whole movie, but... all right, let's see. What do I have here? I mentioned the white Cadillac, which I still think is so cool that it's the one from Reservoir Dogs. Mm-hmm. So, okay. We mentioned it's a love letter to Los Angeles. It's a love letter to Hollywood. It's a love letter to the filmmaking process. Yeah. But above all else, this is a love letter to Sharon Tate. So
Yes.
let's talk about Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie, man. So, she... I learned this the other day because I've been watching a lot of the Hollywood Reporter roundtable videos on YouTube.
Those are great.
Because Ashley told me, she's like, that seems kind of boring. But, I really like hearing actors I really like talk, and this one in particular is one for when Margot was promoting I, Tonya, which I think she did before this one, right? Or after? Before. So she was promoting I, Tonya, and, the interviewer asked her, being Australian, how is the filmmaking process there versus here? And I never knew, of course, why would I know this? I don't watch Australian TV. She started out on a Australian soap opera.
I knew that.
I did not.
She had mentioned it before.
But, and it's just so crazy to think, because soap operas are very overacted. They they don't gasp, they audibly gasp, But seeing how she came from that and where she is now, that she won or was at least nominated for I, Tonya, right? She's in a Golden Globe nominated actress. I have yet to see her in a bad movie. Well, Suicide Squad was a bad movie.
Well,
but that wasn't her fault.
No, she was great at that.
She did great.
No, she's fantastic.
But, and so she just nailed Sharon Tate. And I remember, well, I don't remember, because I read it yesterday, that Deborah Tate, Sharon's sister, was very cautious.
As one would be.
Absolutely. Especially, considering that her sister is famous for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
But Quentin apparently sat her down and was like, look, I'm doing this to honor your sister. I will not, disrespect your sister in any way. And she was still a little apprehensive, but trusted Quentin. And I read that after she saw the movie, she was like, that was phenomenal. Margot did a fantastic job of my sister. And apparently during production, Margot actually wore some of Sharon's real jewelry.
Yeah.
Which, kind of going back to the whole car, I don't know if I would have been able to do,
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Because you're right. The car would have been really creepy, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that it's still in existence and someone still has it somewhere is really weird. But
I know.
Which is actually kind of cool. But
well, I mean, there's murder serial killers out there.
It's morbid stuff that I'm kind of into, right? Like, well, maybe later. Maybe later.
You knew where I was going with that one.
Yeah, I did. But again, it's very important for actors to, once they put on the costume, it helps tremendously, right? No matter how much time you spend practicing or, honing the character, once you put on the clothes, it helps. So
Right.
I can only imagine putting on her jewelry would really help.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and Sharon's not in the movie a lot, which I read some complaints that a lot of people were like, that's not right to have Margot play this role and then she's barely in the movie. And I'm like, well, here's the thing though, it's not about Sharon Tate. Like, yeah, she's involved and she's integral to the story.
Yeah.
But it's not about her.
I would argue, yes, that is correct. And I would also say that that is most apparent by the ending, right?
Yeah.
I think that if the ending had gone differently, we would have gotten more Sharon Tate, right? The fact is, we get very little of Sharon Tate in the film because at the end of this film, she's got a lot more life to live, right? And I think that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
Right? We're not saying like, oh, we didn't get that much of her and we never will again. In this reality,
this faux history,
this is, just something that happened to her neighbor once, right?
Yeah.
And that, I think that's why partly that she's not in the movie very much.
Yeah. And I think that would be a good segue into the climax of the film.
Okay.
because, like we've been kind of saying, the last 35 minutes are the most dramatic. Because
right, and I think again, it's playing on our expectations and our knowledge of what happened. Right, Quentin Tarantino does this thing where he lays out the time of day. Mm-hmm. He like, this is noon, this is 5 p.m., this is 10 p.m., this is and you're like, oh my god, it's coming.
Right? So here we are thinking we're about to
here we go.
We're about to see Sharon Tate get murdered.
Yep. And I wonder how Rick and Cliff are gonna get entangled in this, but they probably are.
Yeah. And but what Quentin does is he flips it when, I guess, Tex and I don't know the other characters' names are, I guess, scouting.
We're trying to find the house.
Yeah. Rick comes out, and because that's a private road.
I mean, just lays into him, which is hilarious.
And I love all the shit he says to him. So get this, what was it? He calls the car like an ugly asshole or something like that. All the while drinking his frozen margarita still in the blender.
Yep.
Because he just taken it off the actual base.
Which I love, because like no matter what is happening, he needs to have a drink in his hand. So he goes like, I wonder what that is. Okay, let me grab my pitcher and let's go out there.
And every time he says it, I look at Ashley when he's like, what are you looking at, you ginger-haired fucker? Because if anyone didn't know, my wife is a ginger. So every time he says that, I kind of look at her just like, what are you going to do?
It's, and the saving grace of the film and the saving grace for Sharon is that they know who he is, mm-hmm. right? And they recognize him as J.K. Hill from Bounty Law, right?
And so they decide, you know what? We're going to kill the people in that house.
Because they represent violence and brainwashing the youth with, murder. Mm-hmm. Right, so let's murder the people who taught us about murder. Right, it's like this backwards thinking, ridiculous Manson family way of, rationalizations.
Yeah.
All right, so this is where the movie becomes outrageous, and if you had missed it, don't worry. Quentin Tarantino's patented violence is
over the top violence
right around the corner, because
yeah. So as we were kind of talking about off mic a little bit, I was a little like, wow, are we about to go a Quentin Tarantino movie with no violence? I mean, seeing Cliff beat the shit out of that guy, it was one thing, but that wasn't very over the top. It was more, again, like I've been saying, very realistic violence. Nothing like Inglourious Bastards, where they're shooting the body of Hitler so much that bits of his flesh are flying off. And so we hadn't seen anything like that yet, and I was like, wow, maybe Quentin feels like he doesn't need that for the story. I'm glad I was wrong, because now but I won't lie, when it all happened, the whole time I was sitting in my seat just like, oh
yeah. I mean, we get the payoff to how trained Brandy is, right? And what exactly she does when he clicks, his cheek, right? And we get to see, Cliff being a badass once more, right? And again, over the top. This is extreme violence with the girl getting hit with the can.
Yeah, the unopened can of dog food.
I mean,
shatters her nose, probably.
Square in the mouth and nose. I mean, just destroys her teeth and her nose.
Brandy is biting down on Tex's arm, which then she moves to his leg, and then up his leg to his groin.
Right. Once he realizes Tex is not going to go anywhere, he gets Brandy to go after the girl, who's going after the gun again, And
he pretty much just smashes Tex's face in.
Yeah, and then speaking of smashing people's faces in, he smashes that redhead's face in.
The ginger-haired fucker.
That's right. For stabbing him in the thigh. Or in the hip or whatever.
Yeah, and yes, let's see. Smashes her head twice into Rick's phone.
Yep.
Smashes it twice into one of his posters.
Yep.
Into the brick on his fireplace.
The mantle, yeah.
Then into the mantle at least 3 times.
And then into the table, and then she's gone because her face is gone. And now here's the moment in the film where every single person in the movie theater where I went erupted into cheers, laughter, roaring, is when...
So
that girl with the gun, right? She.
I think it was Sadie, if I'm remembering correctly, because, when they're talking about was that Jake Gyllenhaal? Yeah, because I think the red-haired girl goes, "Jesus, Sadie."
Oh, okay.
I want to say, let's just call her Sadie.
So Sadie runs in through the glass door into the pool,
so
and
now she's getting shards of glass in her face.
And Rick was just jamming to his headphones, right,
with his margarita.
Freaks out. It was what the hell was going on, right? She's got this gun, firing it off, right, and she's being a little obnoxious, and so
understandably, bothering the people next door.
Rick goes into his tool shed and brings out his flamethrower
that he has from the 14 Fists of McCluskey.
Oh my god! And burns her to a crisp.
Yeah.
The place went ballistic when he's just walking up with the flamethrower. The place erupted, and I was one of those people howling with laughter. I thought it was so funny.
I don't remember how everyone reacted the first time we saw it, but I definitely was like, "Oh yeah!" And
you know what was equivalent when Captain America held Mjolnir? Yeah, that was about the equivalent of excitement
of Leonardo DiCaprio walking out with a flamethrower.
Yes. When it is revealed that Captain America is the one who threw Mjolnir and was able to conjure it back to his hand, people erupted into cheers, and when Rick walks out with that flamethrower, it was the same. People were so excited. And I was, of course, one of those people who was very excited.
But then we get this very, almost, I wouldn't say very cathartic ending. It was more of a Quentin is cautioning us, the audience.
It was very exciting, very satisfying, right? Mm-hmm. Because, these guys are, jerks.
Yeah.
And have been problematic, right? So it's not like we had never met these guys before. Quentin has made sure that we have met these people before and just kind of know what they're about.
And
right?
almost like they're going to deserve everything they're about to get.
Right, of course.
Right.
But you're right. And it is sort of, at the very, very end when he's talking, when Cliff has been taken to the hospital, Rick is talking to the neighbor.
Jay Sebring.
Right. The very well-renowned hairstylist. And, they're talking with one another. We get hopefully the title for this episode. And then, we get to hear Sharon Tate.
Mm-hmm.
And he's finally going to get to meet Sharon Tate, which it mentioned he has wanted to do since she moved in.
Yeah, he said all it takes is one party, and then I'm in the next Polanski picture.
Right. And honestly, I think in this instance, he's sort of not thinking about that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's not networking, right? And I think a lot of it, number one is because of what just happened. Number two, Polanski's not even there.
Yeah, he's
right?
in London filming.
Right. And but he is excited to meet Sharon Tate. And then we, after the excitement, we remembered, oh, Sharon's pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had forgotten about that. I had forgotten about that because we had seen her pregnant. Of course, history tells us, yes, she was pregnant. We know. But in all the excitement of Cliff murdering all of those people.
But it was justified, though. They broke in. Yeah, they broke in.
Justified. Shout out to Timothy Oliphant. Maybe the second coolest guy in the whole movie is Timmy O.
As Jim Stacy.
That's right.
And Before we continue with the ending, I do want to talk about when he's talking to Rick about how Rick lost the Great Escape.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, that's gotta hurt. And you can tell Rick is like still not over it. Like,
yeah. And what a brilliant piece of superimposing. Mm-hmm. Have you seen The Great Escape? It's unbelievable. It's
I
so
have.
good.
It's just been a really long time, but I do remember that.
It's amazing. So
it's on my Criterion wish list.
It's great. That scene in particular, is when we really get to know Steve McQueen's character. It's so brilliant the way that he just plopped Rick Dalton in there, right?
And so I wonder if it was a situation where, hang on, everyone, we'll get back to the ending. If Quentin was directing Leo to be like, here's the lines that Steve McQueen says in the movie. This is kind of how he does it, but play it like how Rick would play it.
Right, because it's not, exactly, like Rick is going to make different choices than Steve McQueen would have, right? And so it's going to be a little different, and of course it is.
Yeah.
Which is a phenomenal excuse, to not only plop this person into this very famous movie, but it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's a different actor. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's sort of a fun little, you get to relax a little bit because it doesn't have to be frame by frame perfect. Right.
Right.
Anyway,
so back to the ending.
So you're right. We get this sort of, it's over. Everyone's okay.
Oh, wait.
But no, not everyone's okay. This is fictitious. This didn't happen. Right. Mm-hmm. And I love the crane shot. I love the font for the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That it's almost like it's written.
Right. It's that sort of storybook Once Upon a Time, and then, of course, Hollywood is a different font. Yeah. And you're like, right, this is a fantasy. This is not real. This didn't happen, right? The way that, and what's funny is I didn't feel this way after Inglourious Bastards, right? I feel like Inglourious Bastards was a little bit more for fun, almost, right?
Well, yeah, because Quentin pretty much, in one fell swoop, ends World War II.
Exactly. And of course, I think it's because it's so outrageous that we can't sit back and think about it the way we do this one. Mm-hmm. Maybe because it, in terms of just playing old time, it happened a lot more recently. Yeah. But also, I think it's because it's such a minor event, not like World War II, which is a gigantic event, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of just sheer, it affected just X amount of people, right?
Right.
And the fact that it's so well documented and so well known that even when he says, I'm the devil and I'm here to do the devil's business, we're familiar with that line, right? We know he said that, right? And I do like the sort of making fun of that. It's like easier to do
some devil shit. Devil shit. Well, it's not verbatim.
It's not verbatim.
but
right. And so we get that crane shot, and Rick walks up to Sharon Tate,
who gives him the biggest hug.
And it's sad, right? Mm-hmm. But I would say it's a little bit of both, because we're happy that this version exists.
Yeah, that this version of history, what if?
But we don't get to live in that world, right? Once we leave this theater, we're back into the real world where Sharon Tate didn't make it, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so brilliant about the title too, is that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, this could have happened. And it
should have happened.
Should have happened. No, not could have. It should have happened. Because, as I mentioned, Sharon Tate is now remembered in all the wrong ways. Not for the actress she could have been and should have been. She's now remembered for being the victim of a cult killing spree. Not
even her movies she did. Not Valley of the Dolls, not Wrecking Crew. I mean, no one ever remembers her in those. My dad might remember Wrecking Crew. He really likes Dean Martin, but other than that,
and I feel like that's why Quentin didn't want to recreate Wrecking Crew. I think he really wanted people to, and I love that we get to sit with Sharon watching her watch the movie.
Right.
because then we almost get to appreciate the movie with her. So I'm going to be real. I never thought about it as a love letter to Sharon Tate. I always thought about it as just a love letter to 60s cinema, Hollywood. I mean, that's why we do this.
Right. This, that's... I rewatched it today, and then I wrote that note down because I'd written, the love letter to Los Angeles, love letter to 69, love letter to the movie making industry in the process and the acting process, things like that. Again, especially the Academy loves movies about movies, right?
Yeah.
But after watching it in the context of having to talk about it, I realized that really it's for Sharon, right? It's sort of vindication for Sharon Tate, right, and everyone at the house.
Before we wrap up, this is Quentin's 9th movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone on record saying that he will only direct 10 movies in his lifetime. What would you, since we kind of have this new platform, what would you want to see as his 10th movie? Would you want to see another faux history like Once Upon a Time, or would you want to see something like Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs?
I'm not sure, because I read a while back that he was thinking about doing a Star Trek movie.
I think he's still going to, but I don't think he's going to direct it. I think he's just going to write it.
Because then I don't know if I would want that to be his last one, right? Honestly, I want it to be just a... I look at it, I know it's a Tarantino movie. That's what I want. I want it to be something that he is super passionate about. I don't think that Star Trek's going to cut it.
No, from what I read, I think he's just going to write it. But I'm sure he's really going to push for the director he wants for it. And
then I had read, of course this was a year or so ago, that he was going to remake that 70s Grindhouse film. What was it, like Pussycat Go Go Go, something like that?
I don't know. I also heard that there's a Kill Bill 3 in the works.
And that doesn't count either, because he doesn't count the sequels. Separate... he doesn't count volumes 1 and 2 as 2 movies. He counts them as 1. So if he does another one, it's just the same movie.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think there should be a third one.
Okay.
I feel like
I'm on record as saying I only like the first volume. I only like the first half of the movie. So
yeah, I think volume 2 is...
It's fine.
It's fine, but it ends the story where we needed it to be ended. So
I agree, and I agree. I don't think there should be a third one either. But let's do a quick Oops, I Forgot, because Oops, I Forgot. I really loved the way they portrayed filming the pilot.
That the camera that's filming the movie is also the camera filming the pilot. And
they don't portray the cuts in between the shots, right?
Yeah.
It's, implied, know, that they've already done all the work, right? And that it's in color. Right, we're not going back to that 16 millimeter Bounty Law, thing, which it most likely would have been shot on.
Well, no, it's the 60s, so there's color TV.
Well, yeah. But
but the framing.
Right. And they did shoot all the Bounty Law stuff in 16 millimeter.
Yeah.
And so they didn't switch up anything for us, right? And so it always takes you a minute to realize, oh, they're shooting the pilot, right? At least for me, it did. I was like, "Oh, they've started."
Yeah, and I like when they come running up and who's Johnny Madrid, which I love that actor who plays
fantastic. Yes,
he's a great character actor.
I mean, he's been in a bunch of stuff. If fans are there of *Halt and Catch Fire*, he was on that show for AMC. He had
some weird plot point in Batman v Superman.
I saw that, but I don't remember.
He had no legs.
That's funny.
He was Lieutenant Danning it. Bringing it back to the Forrest Gump.
He was in Gone Girl. He's been in Killing Them Softly. He's great. I am a huge fan of his. So I'm
actually kind of glad we did an Oops, I Forgot. Luke Perry, man.
Luke Perry. Yes, we can talk about Luke Perry because he's even in the extras. He's being interviewed in the special features.
Yeah, because he died shortly after.
Very soon after this.
Yeah. You know, and it's kind of strange that this movie has death surrounding it.
You know, that's right. And, you know, let's say because he had died and then the movie came out. So
yeah.
His introduction to the film, his character introduction, it's almost like they knew because of the way they sort of slowly revealed that it's Luke Perry, right? And it's almost like they knew when we saw it he wasn't alive anymore because it's just the way they shot it. That was like, oh my God, that's Luke Perry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you know, because, man. And he does great for what little he has in the theatrical cut. He does so fantastic. And I read that he was really trying to base it on one of the actual actors from Lancer, his portrayal. But yeah, man, this movie has just death surrounding it, like I mentioned with Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds was originally attached to be George Spawn, and then he passed away. And then Bruce came in and
what is his name? Sorry, I keep forgetting there's a camera on me and I can't make faces like that. But I'm trying to remember. James Marsden, right? James Marsden plays
Cyclops?
Burt Reynolds. Yeah, plays Burt Reynolds in a cutscene for Red Apple cigarettes, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And so that's funny that he was supposed to be in the movie just in general.
Yeah.
How much money would you have paid to see Norm Macdonald play Burt Reynolds in that sequence?
Oh, I would have emailed Quentin and be like, you have to
just like, sup, you know, that stupid thing.
He's got to have a piece of gum in his mouth, like, yeah, I'll take
$200, you know.
If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, educate yourself.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live. He plays Burt Reynolds, but he doesn't do he doesn't do an accent. He doesn't do an impression at all.
It's mainly like he's playing him the way we see Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know.
Yeah, so the fact that he was supposed to be in there, that may be why they cut it. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know why they cut it.
Or maybe it just... I feel like I saw that too.
Or just it was too long, maybe.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed watching all the cutscenes because they were like commercials, you know? And they were just fun. They were commercials for things that Tarantino has created, like Red Apple cigarettes.
Yeah. Again, you know, implying that this exists in his movie universe as well.
Right.
Which, you know, his timeline is crazy. You know, I think we could do a whole episode, you know, on his timeline of
It's too late. We could have done that in the very beginning and we didn't, so.
Damn, we should have.
Yeah. But then it would have been like a 4-hour episode. No one wants
I know, and, you know, you crazy people like our horror movie episode so much. I was telling someone about that. I was like, you know, we didn't mean for it to be 3 hours. It just... we kept talking, and then we're like, oh, it's been 3 hours. But anyway, so Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready to wrap up?
I am. I love this movie very, very much.
As do I.
I think it is not only is it a great movie, but it's fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to just have on in the background because, again, you're immersed in this world and it's just fun to be, you know, immersed, right?
I just remembered another oops I forgot.
Oh, no.
We didn't even talk about Al Pacino.
Hey, Al Pacino's in the movie. So anyway.
The part was written for him. Okay. But anyway. Yeah. But yeah, you know, I agree. It is very fun. Like, you know, with certain Quentin movies, I have to be in a specific mood. Like Jackie Brown. I really have to be in a specific mood to watch Jackie Brown. It's a great movie, but I gotta have to be in a specific mood. With this one...
Save Robert Forster's career. Jackie Brown.
Really?
Yeah.
But this movie, I can be in any kind of mood. Be like, you know what? I want to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
You know, same with Django. Got to be in a specific mood. I got to be in a, not really a revenge mood, but I got to be in a, like, I want to see someone get revenge. And that rarely ever happens. But yeah, you know, and I think Quentin really outdid himself with this movie. You know, It's very Quentin Tarantino, but at the same time, it doesn't feel.
Yeah, it
Quentin
takes
Tarantino.
all of, like there is humor in Pulp Fiction, right? We know this.
But as for this movie, it's humor around every corner.
It's the best. Yeah, and it's just so much. And that's part of what makes it so much fun because it's light until, of course, the last
30 minutes.
Last 30 minutes. And it's just, again, fun. It's a fun movie. It has value. Not only is it fun, but we are able to sit and have this in-depth discussion and analysis of it. So, I mean, Quentin Tarantino he's pretty good at this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I will be sad to see him go when he does his magnum opus.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
In this new season 5, what are we going to do next week?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Oh, Jesus.
Probably because you are contractually obligated.
Oh, no.
To ask. It's time.
Oh, fuck. Of course, I already know what it is.
Yeah, it's time. So, this movie is a bunch of fun, right? And it's light, it's funny.
Before you say it, this just, it just proves our friendship. I picked something that's moderately light, and you're about to bum us out.
Yes, sir. Next week, we are doing Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream.
Good God.
It is a film that I have seen more than 20 times by now.
And you gave me one of your copies.
It's a film that, number one, just celebrated its 20th anniversary.
God damn.
This year. And it's... Everyone interested in filmmaking and its potential needs to see Requiem for a Dream.
Okay.
I think that, of course, this movie was released during the independent film boom of the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And so this is really what independent filmmaking, this was like the height of it. This was like, I can't believe he was able to do any of this.
That's why this is there.
Yeah. I can't believe he was able to do any of this, right? It's the fact that he was able to pull off some of these shots and these sequences and these montages and these performances. I will tell you that if you have a favorite performance in your life, you're about to trade up because Ellen Burstyn is incredible in this movie. All right?
Okay.
Of course, Jared Leto's amazing, Jennifer Connelly, Marlon Wayans, but Ellen Burstyn steals the show.
Okay.
And you are, yes, going to be sad, but I think you're also just going to be excited that film can be like this, right?
Okay.
So I'm very excited, and you should be too. Get excited.
I am excited because here we are, season 5, on a new platform. Still doing our thing, but I'm excited.
Cool.
So we hope everyone enjoyed our season 5 premiere and our first episode on YouTube. We will have a season 5 logo soon. Jeremy and I are working on that. I can't believe I now have to say this, but please subscribe for more episodes.
Yeah.
Something I meant to mention at the beginning of this is now that we're on YouTube, we can have fun with this more than we have.
Yeah.
There's other stuff I want to talk to you about for this, but
Okay, cool.
yeah, please subscribe to YouTube. If you're listening to us, again, please subscribe to wherever you get your podcast. We will put the YouTube channel on the Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.